reporting on the games you love by people who love to game. The MMO Reporter Network. Hello everybody and welcome to MMO Reporter's run-through of the first boss of Stormtalon's Lair. This is Wind the Invoker. So I'm in a quick group here. I have got two medics, one of which is healing, an engineer tank, and a spellslinger DPS, as well as me on warrior DPS. So the first pull here is a little bit interesting, mostly just because it's a swarm. You got to make sure that the tank gets in there first, of course, grabs all the aggro, and then everybody can go in there and have some fun with AoE and get their DPS numbers up. Just make sure that you're focusing on the same area as the tank so that you don't get hit and wipe the group on the first fight, because that would suck. Pretty straightforward on this next pull here, but the one thing to look for is that you want to focus on the Shaman, because the Shaman does do some buffs and some heals. Now, we didn't do that on the first pull, but we got it down better on the second pull, but it makes it for a much harder fight when you've got the Shaman in the back there healing the guy that we're trying to kill the whole time. It's an unnecessarily lengthening of the fight, so just make sure that you're focusing on that Shaman right there in the background with the staff. We didn't do that, made the fight longer, that's all. With the next few pulls, you have to be a little bit more careful because they do group together a little bit more. So we did pull back into this area here. You're basically doing a pretty straightforward AoE trash fight here. Just make sure that you're interrupting when you need to, getting out of the way of the telegraphs, and you will have a grand old time. One of the great things to do with this next pull is actually line of sight them around the corner. That way, you can get the Shaman and this trash mob here away from the path that goes around where they stand normally. It's the same fight as before. Get the Shaman, which again we ignored here, unnecessarily lengthening the fight. But it's pretty straightforward. Interrupts, get out of the way, all that fun stuff. don't forget for this last pull here, you want to pull away from the boss so that you don't end up accidentally backing into the boss and starting the boss fight when you are not ready to do so. So pull him up the hill and it'll be much simpler. This is a pretty straightforward trash run, a lot of AoE, get out of the telegraphs, and you will have a grand old time as always. The boss fight comes in 3 different stages. The first one is a pretty straightforward tank and spank with that big, huge telegraph that you saw. It goes in the same directions every time. So all that you have to do is when it pops up, make sure that you jump into one of the corners and you will do fine. At this point is that the boss becomes invulnerable and you have to go around to the ads on the outside. Now you did get disarmed, that's the little glowy blue things that you see there, so we got to go pick up our weapons, and then everyone one at a time you'll be targeted and you'll have a little telegraph around you. You have to take that telegraph and plop it over the mob that we've got here, and that'll do some damage to them. It's a little bit challenging, but you do have about 3 or 4 seconds to get that in there to help you get some DPS on those ads around the corner, and it'll really make it simpler. You got to go around and get all the 4 different ads in the different corners. Now, starting in this part, you'll start to get one glowy blue ball start to head around the outside of this fight, and if it hits you, it'll do some light damage, not that much, but it will stun you, which is not good with those AoEs because those hurt when they hit you. So just make sure that you are moving the AoEs so that they hit the mobs when they stick. You'll notice they start and they kind of give you the warning thing as the small circle goes out to meet the outside circle. Once it meets the outside circle, you'll have another few seconds to get out of the way. But while that small circle is still moving, that is when you can still move and it'll stick on you. So once it sticks to the ground instead of you, then get the heck out of dodge and make sure that you don't get hit with it as well. You can see fights getting a little more complicated with more of the blue glowy things that will stun. So you gotta stay out of the way. Now, one of the things about having a medic healer is you have to be really aware of their directionality. They can only really heal in front of them, in that cone in front of them. They do have the squares that they can place and stuff, but your goal as DPS, if you need heals, is to get in front of them as well and get into their telegraphs, because they can't direct target and heal like that. That's just not how it works. They can place some AoE ones, but they mostly do directional. So make sure, you can see as I tried to do here, that you stay inside those telegraphs so that you get heals as you go through the fight. So we're getting all those ads down, and then we're going to come to phase 3, which is absolutely crazy. All the stuff that happened before, the glowy blue balls, there's more of those. Yes, I understand the pun there. That's on purpose. Those blue balls are always a pain. So you want to go around and dodge those, get the ads, and then in the third phase, you'll get all of that stuff, plus more AoE targeted on the ground, and this crazy-ass glyph that comes out. And here it is right here. You got to get into those little squares, or else you'll get knocked back. Now, you can soak 1 or 2 of those if you have to, but really, you want to stay out of the way to make it easier on your healer. The healer's going to have enough to worry about with the tank, and if you're DPS, your job is to get out of the way there. Actually, everybody has to get out of the way and then go back in. So it's a little bit of a long fight. I really enjoyed fighting this boss because this is something that I would have seen in WoW or in Rift when it got to raid level stuff, but this is the first boss in the first dungeon that you're going to do in Wildstar if you're on the Exile side. The Dominion side has a different boss, equally as challenging. So you're not going to be face rolling through this stuff. I really enjoyed the challenge. It was a lot of fun. So let's see the end of the fight here. We have finished the boss. This is the first boss in Stormtalon's Lair. This is Wind the Invoker. A lot of fun to fight. Like I said, really, really challenging, but an absolute blast to play through. We're going to be bringing you the other bosses from this dungeon, as well as more. You can check it out on our YouTube channel or MMOreporter.com, where you'll also find the Wildstar Reporter podcast. Thanks, everybody, and hope to see you in game.